You're looking for a new book to read on psychology, you want to understand yourself better, you want to understand others better. And I've spent the last 10 years reading up on human nature, psychology, philosophy, and in this video I want to share a bonanza of book recommendations. And if you can't find a new book that you want to pick up after this video, then I have failed you. I'm going to shower you in book recommendations today. Let's go. Here I have about 40 books that I want to recommend, so I'm going to move quite quickly through them, and there will be more extended reviews. If I review the book, there's a link to that in the description below if you want to know more. First out we have Games People Play by Eric Bernet. This is about the psychology of human relationships and the games we play consciously or unconsciously in social interactions. It's kind of a dysfunctional way of interacting with the world and others. Women Who Runs with the Wolves. This book is a Jungian psychology book for women to reclaim their wild woman archetype. It's a mix of Jungian psychology and folklore. The Denial of Death by Ernest Becker. This is about the problem that we humans know that we're gonna die. The book focuses on the question of how we can cope with that horrible fact. The True Believer by Eric Hoffer. This book is about the psychology of totalitarianism. Why do people seek out to be dominated by a totalitarian system, and why do people want to escape from freedom? It's a really good book. Lost Connections. Why You're Depressed and How to Find Hope. In this book, Johan Hari tries to uncover why we are so depressed in modern society, and he finds 9 causes for it. It's a great book. If you want a book that provides a clear difference between the sexes when it comes to sexuality, then check out A Billion Wicked Thoughts. In this book, these authors, they have gotten access to a lot of data from pornographic sites, and they have analyzed the differences between different countries in what they kind of porn they look at, which is quite interesting. The Psychology of Intelligence Analysis. This is for people who want to be better at analyzing intelligence, and it also covers the most common cognitive biases that colors our judgment. Gabor Mate, In the Realm of Hungry Ghosts. Close Encounters with Addiction. This is about the psychology and healing of addiction. More Jungian psychology. King, Warrior, Magician, Lover. Rediscover the archetypes of the mature masculine. This book is about how you become an integrated person as a man in the world from a Jungian perspective. The Shallows, What the Internet is Doing to Our Brains. This is a great book about how the advent of the internet changed the way we interact with information and how it changes the way we behave. It gives us a brief history of different information technologies, and it also studies the effects it has on us. The Art of Loving by Eric Fromm. This book looks at love from many different angles, like brotherly love, love to God, love to your spouse, fatherly love, motherly love, and it makes this differentiation between immature and mature love. This is a great book. It's one of those books where you underline every other sentence. Actually, it's a must read in my opinion. Radical Honesty. Here you have a kind of a wild card. In this book, Brad Blayton talks about how you can transform your life by telling the truth, and he's talking about the full truth, the immediate truth. It's quite extreme, but also extremely thought-provoking, and just a great book to read. Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Most of you have probably read this one. I recently reread it, and maybe you should do too. It's a really good book. Viktor Frankl, he was in concentration camps during the Second World War, and he talks about how you can find meaning in the most horrible of situations. It's a true classic about hope. The Myth of Sisyphus by Albert Camus. There is but one truly serious philosophical problem, and that is suicide. This book is about the fundamental question that we have to ask ourselves as we embark in life. Is life worth living? Throwing this one into the mix, Reading People. It's about personality and the dark triads in psychology, which is like about narcissism, Machiavellianism, stuff like that. If you want to read people, then read this book. Misplaced this one. Stolen Focus, another book by Johan Hari, Why We Can't Pay Attention, an insightful book in why it's so hard to concentrate and focus and do stuff together these days. An absolutely must read in my opinion. The Courage to Be Disliked, this is an accessible introduction to Adlerian psychology. How to free yourself, change your life, and achieve real happiness. Using the theories of Alfred Adler, one of the three giants of 20th century psychology, alongside Freud and Jung, a philosopher and a young man have a discussion. Their conversation reveals a profound, liberating way of thinking. By developing the courage to change and to ignore the limitations so frequently imposed on us, it's possible to find happiness. Then we have another Eric Fromm, Escape from Freedom. What is so horrible with freedom that we want to escape it? This book is absolutely fantastic, and it also goes into why people are drawn to totalitarian systems and parties. It will reveal a thing or two about our fellow humans and ourselves. If you want to know about anxiety and depression and its evolutionary origins, then look at Good Reasons for Feeling Bad. This is evolutionary psychiatry. If you read and liked The Courage to Be Disliked, then you maybe should check out some of Adler's original work. This book, Understanding Human Nature, gives you a great insight to his psychology. How to Break Free of the Drama Triangle and Victim Consciousness. This book kind of adds to what Eric Berne talks about in games people play. It focuses on one game that is very common in families, at work, within a cycle of friends, and it's called the drama triangles, where people take on different roles interchangeably that just causes dishonest communication and a lot of drama in relationships. The Moral Animal by Robert Wright. Why We Are the Way We Are, the New Science of Evolutionary Psychology. This is a really thought-provoking book that I think most people should read. It goes into questions if monogamy is natural for men or for women, why do parents favor some children over others, what evolutionary advantage might come from having low self-esteem. It's just one of those books that asks really interesting questions, and I don't think you will walk away from this book unchanged. Scattered Minds by Gabor Mate, The Origins and Healing of Attention Deficit Disorder. I'm just wrapping up this book right now, and even if you don't have kids that have ADD, or you have it yourself or family members, it's still worth reading because I feel it's quite a general guide to how people behave today and how you can understand people that have some of the problems that are associated with ADD behavior. Stumbling on Happiness by Daniel Gilbert. This book talks about how humans fail to predict what is actually going to be good for them or make them happy in the near future and in the long run. It's an absolutely interesting book for anyone who's interested in the human predicament. Hold On to Your Kids by Gabor Mate and Gordon Newfield. Why parents need to matter more than peers. In today's society, children and teenagers are more oriented towards their peers rather than to nurturing adults. If you have kids, you should definitely read this one. It provided huge insights for me in how to raise my kids. And, a real classic. Influence, The Psychology of Persuasion by Dr. Robert Cialdini. This is an absolutely must read. It talks about persuasion and influence, and it goes both ways. Like, if you read this book, you will learn how to recognize when people are trying to manipulate you, and you can protect yourself from it, but it also will help you be more influential in the message that you try to provide for the world, in your project, in your work, or in your private life. It's an absolutely must read. I think it should be mandatory in schools, actually. And then we have a slightly less famous book, Transcend, The New Science of Self-Actualization by Scott Barry Kaufman. In this book, Scott Barry Kaufman talks about the prerequisites we humans have for personal growth and self-actualization, building on the models that Maslow did at one point. It's also kind of a short biography of Maslow. Super interesting and well worth a read. A thick book, a complex book, Maps of Meaning by Jordan B. Peterson, The Architecture of Belief. Peterson synthesizes research and scholarly literatures ranging from neuroscience to archaeology. He aligns the finding of those literatures with the writings of authors such as Jung, Nietzsche, Dostoevsky, and Solzhenitsyn. It's a pretty unique book that synthesizes the meaning of human mythology and human needs. It's a pretty cool book if you can get through it. It's quite complex. Boundaries, because we need them. This is about biblical boundaries, but there are lessons for people of a more secular nature as well. You can check out my full review of this in the description below. When to say yes and how to say no. Flow, the Psychology of Optimal Experience by Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. I probably butchered that name. It's probably the hardest author name to pronounce that I've come across. Flow is one of the most optimal states that we can be in this book. It go through how you can reach that state more in your everyday life and what components it takes and what things you need to get in place in your environment in order to experience more flow states in your everyday life. A must read. More Gabor Mate. When the body says no, the cost of hidden stress. In this book, Gabor Mate looks at trauma and how it influences our physical health, making connections from early childhood stresses to sicknesses such as ALS, Alzheimer's, und so weiter. I think I gave this book 5 out of 5. I really enjoyed it. There's so much to learn about the connection between mind and body. That's not something that we can overlook. Fire in the Belly, on being a man. It's on being a man, through a Jungian lens. Here's a bit of a joker. It's not really psychology, but philosophy. Author Schopenhauer's On the Suffering of the World. This guy is known for his pessimism, and I found this one as a really good starting point for reading Schopenhauer and learn a little bit about why we suffer so much in the world. He is a very charming guy. He has a bit of an outdated view on women. He is brutal in many ways, but this is a short book and a great introduction to his stuff, and it tells you something about what it means to be human. Speaking of short books, here is one that is really good, 25 pages of pure gold. James Bond Stockdale. Courage Under Fire, Testing Epictetus's Doctrines in the Laboratory of Human Behavior. James Bond Stockdale was a fighter pilot. He crashed during the Vietnam War and became a prisoner of war. And together with other POWs, he was captured, he was tortured, and during this period he tested out the Stoic philosophy that he had learned in school, especially from Epictetus' book, De Enchiridion. And with that mindset, he and his fellow POWs, they were able to endure the most harsh condition, testing Stoic philosophy in a real-world situation of desperation. Super inspiring read. It tells you something about what us humans are willing to endure. Not willing, but able to endure. Essential book, The Laws of Human Nature. It was my absolutely favorite book a few years ago. When I read it, Robert Greene, in this book, he goes through the laws that will transform you into a calmer person, also the laws that govern human behavior. He will help you read social cues in a better way. The book will also teach you to take on and outthink toxic people. This is the ultimate guide to the human nature. It's a good, even though it's a bit thick, it's good for beginners because it will just inspire you to read up on so many different topics. It's really good. A book with one of my favorite titles and taglines, The Human Magnet Syndrome, Why We Love the People Who Hurt Us. In this book you can read up on the narcissist codependent dynamic. It's quite a ride. And as we move into darker psychology, the dark triad. The dark psychology behind narcissistic, Machiavellian and psychopathic behavior and manipulation. It's a quick guide to it by Gray Wick. The psychology of money, because money is important. It's a big part of our life. In this book, we will get timeless lessons on wealth, greed, and happiness. What I like about this book is that it goes into timeless principles and the cyclical nature of the market. So you will learn a lot about the foundations and how to maneuver hard times as well as the good ones, and also build strategies for long-term wealth creation for yourself. 12 Rules for Life by Jordan B. Peterson. He is a divisive character, but I really think this book has a lot of good in it. In this book, Jordan Peterson states a few principles to keep in mind in life in order to grow as a person and become a more integrated individual. If you haven't read it already, then check it out. That was it. That was a bunch of books. Let me know in the comments which one of these sounded interesting to you, if you read any of them, because I would love to have discussions about all these books because I love psychology books. Also, if your favorite list or your favorite book wasn't on the list, let me know, because I want to pick up more books, put them on my reading list, and work my way through them and review them here on the channel. Because I put out video reviews of non-fiction books on philosophy, psychology, human nature every week, and I also do a monthly run through of all the upcoming releases that connects to these topics. So make sure to subscribe and like, and I'm sure they will pop up in your feed once I publish them. Happy reading, everyone, and thanks for listening. Björn out.